Let's consider some of the issues that arise from this, and I'll bring in Luis Alvarez, who is a psychiatrist based here in Paris. Luis, thank you very much for being with us. This situation, the actions of Joël Le Scouarnec in court, he admitted it was despicable, disgraceful. His self-pity, of course, impressed nobody, and nor should it. But I'm wondering whether will any of his statements help any of his victims? What do you think?
Well, thank you for this invitation. Yes, I think admitting his guilt brings some relief to his many victims. Anyhow, if we listen to the words this lady just told us, yes, have the same sentence for raping and sexually assaulting 300 kids is not the same as raping one single person. So I think, yes, justice may relieve people, but I think justice must take into account all the suffering of victims. And the suffering of victims is enormous, it's awful. Trauma can destroy
people. Scouarnec will spend the rest of his days in prison. That seems to be the case. He's 74 years old now. And I'm sure that's cold comfort to those who've suffered. For his victims, though, they'll forever be in a prison created by the ordeal, won't they? How can they escape that?
Well, that's a very important issue. What matters now for victims is to take their lives back from trauma. Today, in modern mental health, we have protocols, evidence-based protocols, very efficient in trauma. Those protocols have to be accessible for every victim in not only in France, but worldwide. But I have to say that most of the victims do not have easy access to those protocols. And this is a pity, because not having access to those protocols is a lot of changes of getting their lives back from trauma. So it's very important that every single victim can have access to those protocols.
And the fact that that doesn't happen, it leaves many people lost in many ways. They can't get their lives on track. Some people revert to criminal actions themselves because of this. I mean, surely this is an area where governments across the board, across the world, need to invest to create a better society.
Of course. Mostly with kids. Kids will be the citizens of the future. So our societies need to really take into account the huge efforts we have to do to train therapists in these protocols, very efficient, so they can provide these protocols to people in need. And this is the way we can not only once every single victim can take back his life, her life from trauma, but also we can build a better society. So yes, it's a very highly political issue here.
It's the betrayal of trust as well, isn't it? Because Le Scouarnec was in a position of trust. And when a child is abused by someone in that position, you know, it could be a teacher, it could be a relative, or it could be a stranger who seems to be someone who's helping, and then they abuse the child. It sets up in that child's mind all kinds of conflicts that basically stop them developing properly and get in the way of them forming the kind of human relationships that should go on to form. Massive, massive problems. What's your advice to anybody who has found themselves in that position, Luis? What would you advise them to do? What would you advise a parent to do who maybe knows their child has suffered, or someone who's watching this who suffered when they were younger? What would you advise them to do?
Well, what very important thing is to believe the child. Children don't lie. Adults lie. Kids don't lie. This is evidence-based proof. In criminal cases, less than 1% of kids lie. So the first thing is to believe the kid, and then to seek help in every way. Mental health help, but also pediatricians help. And of course, we need justice to protect these kids. So there's a huge amount of efforts parents have to do. And after this really important efforts they have to provide, they need to find therapists trained in these evidence-based protocols. Basically, we have 3 protocols, evidence-based, that we can use in victims any age. The first one is EMDR. It's a very known protocol, very effective. The second one is trauma-focused CBT. And the most efficient protocol, evidence-based, is called the prolonged exposure therapy. So these 3 protocols can really be life-changing for people suffering from trauma. This last protocol, prolonged exposure therapy, can be efficient as highly as 90%, which means that 90% of the times when people do this protocol, they don't have any more the diagnosis of PTSD, of post-traumatic stress disorder. So this is why it's so important that our society, our governments can really make a huge effort for training therapists, so therapists will finally provide this therapy to people in need.
Luis Alvarez, child and adolescent psychiatrist, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time. We appreciate the information you brought to us. What we will try to do is post your interview on our website, online, on our YouTube channel, and try to put on with that a number that people can contact if they are at all touched by this horrific story. Joël Le Scouarnec, almost 300 victims of his abuse, most of them under the age of 15, children he abused. He's admitted it all. He's been sentenced to 20 years. Luis Alvarez giving us a sense of what people have been going through. And thank you, sir, for joining us here in France 24. We appreciate your time.